session is called Picture or It Didn't Happen, the Carnivalesque in an Online Running Community. Now, this session, actually, I prepared it on the basis of one particular chapter that is going to be coming out very soon, called Language, Identity Online and Running. So I would be grateful for any comments or suggestions that you might have at various points or at the end, if you would like me to consider for the chapter. Okay, so first of all, let me give you some contextual information. Typical timed running events are typically a 5K, a 10K, 21.5, so a half marathon, a marathon. And there are also those that are longer distances. So, and these are typically either a 50K or a 50 miles, or as you can see, a whole list of different distances. And these longer ones are called ultra marathons. And an ultra marathon is usually defined as any running event where the running distance is longer than the traditional race length of a marathon. And what is important from a perspective of an ultra marathon is that somebody who runs ultra marathons will need to be aware of the fact that there is energy demand, there's consumption, energy consumption, there's body weight loss, dehydration, overhydration, problems with the digestive tract, liver, kidney, musculoskeletal problems, changes in hormones, and changes to the immune system. So you might start to wonder, well, why, what is the fascination in ultramarathon? Yeah, so I can talk about that later if time allows, but obviously this is not about that. The talk is not about that. And online, there are many social network sites for anyone interested in the sport of ultra running, and there are hundreds and thousands of ultramarathon events, and majority of them have their own affiliated groups on Facebook. So my research, before I should also say that there is a lot written in the area of running. Okay, there are books written for runners and by runners about how mental immersion techniques and ways of maximizing performance, sharing running journeys, and providing training tips. There are also empirical studies, obviously, into running, with sociological studies into lived experiences of running communities, physiology of running ultramarathon distances, for example, a sociocultural examination of various types of running, including endurance running, sporting embodiments, ethnography, and physical culture. So all of these have been studied a lot. And there are, obviously, as we all know, a lot of studies into social media and the discourses surrounding the social and new media, social media and new media, and the analysis of digital forms of language. And among all of those, I can say that I haven't come across any particular study that looks into runners' discourse on social media, focusing on identity work. So when you look at all of that together, I couldn't come across any particular research. So my research fills that gap. And sorry, clicking too many things here. So my research involves looking at the online interaction of the members of a particular Facebook group. And it is a group that is concerned with running long distances and the world of ultra running. And so this particular running community, which I call a Facebook community for ultra runners with the acronym FCFU, is the focus of my research. And at the time of the study, there were over 25,000 members in this particular Facebook group. It's a public group, and anyone interested in ultra running can find the group and see who's in it and what they post. And it's a group for all running abilities, and they say that members are welcome even if they haven't run those long distances. And individuals can request to join, or an existing member can invite them into the group. And I should say that while it is not possible to see the geographical distribution, it's fair to note that the membership profile is international, and this is evidenced by the members' profiles, and some of the posts that you read. And so my research focuses on the online communication, online interaction of the members of a Facebook group, with its particular focus on all matters concerning long distance running and the world of ultra running. And for my methodology, I draw on digital ethnography, discourse-centered online ethnography, phenomenology, and embodied research. So all of these have come together in the research itself. And I particularly looked at those two questions, those two research questions, in my research into this particular Facebook community, and using Buchholz and Hall's sociocultural linguistic approach to studying identity and interaction. And social scientific understanding of, so the approach is very much a social understanding of identity, that identity is performative and dynamic and socially constructed. And the group is very much a community of practice. I haven't got time to explain how it is a community of practice, but using Lever and Wenger and Eckerton, McConnell, Jeanette, I can say that this group is a collection of people who engage in an ongoing basis in some common endeavor. And they are groups of people who share a concern, a passion for something that they like. So in this case, passion for running distances that are longer than a marathon. And they are they enter to this through their their engagement, and they come together around mutual engagement and their joint activity around a particular endeavor. And so there's mutual engagement, there is joint enterprise, and there is shared repertoire. In other words, there is shared discourse. Now, as you know, I said that I'm using online data. So things to be aware of. So use of online data for research purposes obviously requires careful consideration. And I always value this particular quote very much from Kozinets. The fact that people know that their postings are public does not automatically lead to the conclusion that they also grant automatic unspoken consent. So I used Association of Internet Researchers site and BAL for guidelines on ethical collection of data. And in fact, BAL produced very recently, a couple of weeks ago, their revised guidelines for ethical research, and my research actually is still in line with what they have recommended. So the data and the analytical tools, I won't have time to explain this in big detail, but just to say that it was in 2 phases, and very much revolving around participant observation and log data of a lot of posts, and using a particular time frame, and using the search button that is within the site itself. And that helped me to look for keywords, identify keywords, and search for further posts. And in phase 2, I actually shortened the data, the time span to a 30-day period to actually do a closer analysis of the initial findings from phase 1. and using Darich-Gatti conceptual framework of conceptualizing the communication platform as a tool, space, and ways of being. And so some of my findings is that runners I analyzed the posts and used the different types of coding as is mentioned in the previous slide, and these findings they were looking at so for example the what and the which of the what and the which, so asking for recommendations involving what a runner uses. So that's something like, for example, footwear, what footwear to use, what watches to use, and so on. Or the how to, how do you increase mileage? Somebody posts about that. And how do you clean a hydration pack, and so on. And other ones include like race-related posts, sharing some factual information about a particular race, or offering a review of an item, for example, of a lightweight jacket, asking for views on or opinions on various matters, so practical matters and so on. So I want to read these, one by one. But so these were some of the categories that I identified. And another area is web links, so news in the media, for example, or somebody would post a web link directly with no other not much detail, but just a link to a particular site related with, for example, ultra running, and promotion of a company or a product, and making an announcement, for example, an announcement sometimes of a missing person who is a runner and who runs in a particular area, and anybody who knows that area well, could they help, kind of posts. And now entertainment, I've put it in a different color because that's the focus of this particular session. So entertainment actually was interesting for me to find, because I didn't expect to find this. It sort of presented itself to me as I was reading many different posts. I became aware that there was entertainment, but in different ways. So there was invitation to have some fun. The discourse showed that, and there was also unexpected fun, and also the other category is invitation to have a discussion. And there's, of course, there are gate moderators of the site, and there's continuous gatekeeping involved. So let's have a look at some examples. So the findings show that, so for example, one of the posts was that my watch hasn't been reading my heart rate for the last 24 hours. I've tried turning it off and back on. Any ideas? And one of the comments was, it means your heart has stopped beating. Now, this is, initially, it might not seem significant, but this was liked, this particular comment was liked by many members, but not the OP, so not the original poster. And so it could be an indication that the OP wished to have some serious answer, but the answer that he received here in one particular case was, it means your heart has stopped beating, which can indicate some form of gallows humor, maybe. And so there's some, it's dark, it's more morbid, if you like. And so this is just one short example. Another one is the OP posts about an injury, asking for a potential diagnosis. So, for example, they might explain what the injury is, sometimes with a picture accompanying it, and say, and in the picture there would be a little dot to say, this is where the pain is. So what do you think I should do? Should I enter my race? That is, should I take on the race next Sunday, for example, to to complete it, and what are your what kind of experiences have others had in this particular situation. So these kinds of posts are actually not very welcome within the community itself, and there are serious responses. People will share their own experiences, so they are very much like what Ruth Page would call second stories. So some form of explanation of what others have experienced, similar, for example, stress fracture or some form of injury. And there are also some form of playful responses. For example, somebody might write amputation, and this is a very common response actually, because people get irritated and they just say, they want to say amputation. And again, that maybe is an example of gallows humor again. So it's grim, it's ironic. Okay, and so in much digital communication, the obscurity and ambiguity are licensed, and relevance is a matter of choice, and truthfulness at times is unnecessary. So what matters is amusement, laughter, and creative enjoyment, as Dermot has said. And there could be interactive silliness, like Follett says, and pure fun. And there could be a broad tendency towards the humorous, even when we discuss a serious issue. And there could be playful exaggeration, again, as Dermot has said. And in this particular example of somebody posting about an injury and asking for a potential diagnosis, the admin in this case stepped in and wanted to gain control, if you like, of the situation, where if you have a diagnosis from a medical professional and so on, by all means post away. If, however, you have an ouchie, so a nice description here of the serious pain, for example, that somebody might be having, and want to tell us about this, please don't. Okay. Similarly, we can't diagnose you via Facebook. So it is shunned. And so as a result of these kinds of posts, a certain meme has started to appear. And this is where, are you taking me to the hospital? No, ma'am, you need top medical experts. We're taking you to the comments section. Now here we've got an exophoric reference to the Facebook comments section. Okay, so, and also a reference to the Facebook doctor. Okay, so don't use Facebook comments section for so humor comes into these kinds of posts. So other examples. So here the admin, one of the admins says, let's have some fun. So here there is an overt invitation to have some fun. And so here he says, going to go for a long run this afternoon, but exclamation mark, looking for a bit of uninspiration. So instead of inspiration, uninspiration. And this is an important word here, because choice of word, because the Facebook group, one of the rules within the group is that if you post inspirational memes, it might not be acceptable, and it might be taken down by the admin. Okay, so there should be a reason for why you are posting something. So the example that I showed earlier, where that with the meme, that was in relation to a comment. It was a comment. It was posted as a comment in relation to a post. But if you post an inspirational meme, which is very common in many Facebook sites, but not this particular one, then it will be taken down. But how this is here, the admin is overtly inviting the group, the community, to. So I'm using community here, but I'm using community in the sense of all the members of this group, not necessarily meaning that I'm actually referring to the community of practice. So, and let's see your inspirational memes. Yes, on this thread only. Okay, so basically they're giving the permission. Okay, so there's a permission to go ahead with this. and there is actually a gift at the end, so 1,000 internet points. So we could say this is actually an involvement strategy, like Skolin and Wong Skolin's term, strategy by which we show our closeness and rapport with others. So in response, these were some memes that were posted, and the interesting thing is that, for example, with the second one on the right, just like running but slow, so ultra running, just like running but slower, longer, sadder, and more lonely. Okay, so here's a negative depiction of the sport itself. And the fact that, I don't know if you can read it, it's a bit small maybe, but because ultra marathon running, because 26.2 miles is for sissies. In real sport, you go until your organs start shutting down. So it's very much, again, looking at how, the humor comes into it, where and with the choice of the word sissies, so juxtaposing ultra running against running a marathon distance. So that's is interesting in itself. Okay, now this is where we now move into a different realm, and so here, one of the memes that was posted was, "Isn't ultra running sexy?" And as you can see, it is everything but in the caricatures that are depicted here in the meme. So you might say, okay, so what is how does this relate to humor? So obviously it does. So while posts that I've shown earlier show some form of light entertainment or dark humor in some cases within the group, there are also those which are more reminiscent of the Russian language philosopher and literary critic Bakhtin's concept of carnival. Bakhtin's views and reflections on medieval carnivals have been used for analysis of carnival in studying popular culture. Bakhtin was concerned with the liberation of the human spirit and claimed that carnivalesque literature, like carnivals themselves, broke apart oppressive forms of thought and cleared the path towards emancipation. So carnival, according to Bakhtin, is not a spectacle seen by people. They live in it, okay? And everyone participates. Because the very idea of that participation embraces all people. Okay, and Kristeva, who has also studied carnival, but with the concept of abject, which I will refer to a bit later, has said that the participant in carnival is both actor and spectator. Okay, and of course, carnival has its own laws of its own freedom, and it's free time, free space, okay, where the tensions and frustrations of everyday life are temporarily suspended, okay, and crude profanities are uttered, okay, and these are not considered to be offense, and there's a celebration of the body and the celebration of the senses, and this is carnivalesque. So members, how does this relate to the members of the group? But maybe I should also say about the grotesque realism. So this is an aspect of the carnivalesque, okay, and Bakhtin looked at the grotesque as the grotesque bodily zones involve, for example, bulging eyes. So there's some form of, so the protruding from the body, going beyond the confines of the body, involves the grotesque. Okay, and special attention is given to all that prolongs the body and links it to the other bodies or to the world outside. Anything that is outside the canon, out of scale and strange, hilarious, or shocking is counted as grotesque. So by its very nature, grotesque image is non-canonical. Language of the marketplace is very much the center, and laughter is obviously at the center. And the language includes profanities, abuse, indecent expressions, form of language overtly challenging the prevailing norms of society. So there's a matter of inversion of the dominant social norms. So the marketplace, in this case, is the digital space. So we're looking at a digital carnival site. So in it, ritual spectacles and comic multimodal exchanges are taking place. So there are free and familiar contact between free and familiar contact between people. And members in the community, within this particular Facebook community, are taking the plunge to share the grotesque. And in my research, I identified these particular types of the grotesque. So references to various, I won't read them all out. You can see the list here. And I wanted to exemplify one of them. So let's move on. So the carnivalesque subverts and liberates people from the norms of etiquette of the dominant style. Okay, and so it allows the members of the community to have the freedom to write about, for example, the condition of their feet, to post images, mock one another in a tongue-in-cheek style, if you like, using grotesque realism. And the distorted look of feet with blisters is outside the canon, out of scale and hilarious to some, while shocking and even disgusting to others, especially those who are not part of any running communities and who may not be familiar with this particular concept of distorted look of feet. So the thread that I want to share with you is one that involves a carnival, in my opinion. And so here there is Simon, this is a pseudonym, Simon says, "It's here, Wednesday." Now, the reference here is important. So when he says it's here, so there's a cataphoric reference to Wednesday, and Wednesday in itself is an exophoric reference to the fact that on Wednesdays, the Facebook group is allowed to post more things, that is allowed to be a little bit more unruly, if you like. They're in a way allowed to subvert or invert the social norms. And so here Simon signals that and says, "So for a laugh," again, this is an invitation here, "let's see the best and most horrific picture of blisters caused in an ultra race." Okay, and then there's there's a whole list of conditions that you have to say, what race you got it, a scale out of 1 out of 10 of pain, and so on. And if you're finished, or if you DNF'd, so DNF'd is did not finish. If DNF, how far were you when you DNF'd, and so on. And so there is a competition involved. Competition prize for best, the funniest, will be free entry into the marathon. So there are lots of things happening here. First of all, there's gift giving involved. So we could say it's kind of the concept that Brown and Levinson introduced, the gift giving, but also involvement strategy that I mentioned earlier. So and the competition, the prize itself is a marathon. So somebody with problem in the feet might not want to necessarily run a marathon. Obviously, the problems that might not be one that they experience at that point in time. It might be an old injury that they might have had, or an old problem that they experienced in their feet. So If you don't want to see the next slide, you might want to just look away and just listen. I'm sharing only one photograph, you might be pleased to know. There were 310 comments, sorry, 298 comments in response to this thread, and in response to this post, and about 52, I think it was 50 or 52 pictures of feet with blisters, and very soon it became not just blisters but toenails, and black toenails, and so with blood oozing out of feet. So you need to try and picture these as you are listening to my talk. But there is one photograph in the next slide. So this is now, look away if you don't want to see it. So Simon posted a photograph of his foot to say, so here goes, the name of, and then he says which ultramarathon it was, and then he answers the questions he set for the group to answer. So pain level was 7, and out of the 100-miler, he DNF'd at 52 miles. So he ran for the 52 miles, but DNF'd. And so the question number 4 was, it has to be your own blister, not one pinched off the web, and 5, funny comment. And funny comment here is he decided to write, went with a pop, big pop, that one. Okay, so when you pop it, obviously it oozes out the liquid in it. So these are all very much carnivalesque. They are within the carnivalesque spirit, where you wouldn't necessarily be talking about your feet with your group of friends, or in normal social contexts. But it is a very different situation when you invert those social norms. You are able to, in such a context like this one that I am sharing with you. And there were a large number of comments. There were, as I said, 298, and members provided their answers to the original questions. Okay, and of course this shows that identity can also be semiotic, and through every act of semiosis, there's an act of identity in which we give off information about ourselves, and so this playful nature of the interaction taking the form of a carnival. And there were the 298 comments, and there were, which showed that there were the comments aligned with the OP. So with Simon, they were actually aligning with the content. So they showed that they were adequating. They were showing adequation, to use Buchholz and Hall's categorization of types of identity study. And with the like button, so many people liking the post, it shows that the like button actually itself has a multitude of pragmatic functions, and so they show that it shows that it expresses positive stance to the OP, and that there's interest in the post that has been written, and in a way also agreeing and aligning with the stance of the status poster, indicating that the post has been read, but also answering a yes to a question raised in the post, or yes, that they will actually answer this. And there were actually 104 likes to this post. So 298 comments, 104 likes. Of all of those likes, only 2 of them were the reaction to with a sad face, whereas the others were either a happy face or a laugh out loud emoji. Okay, So, I put some a photograph here of feet without any blisters, so that maybe you can actually not worry about what you're seeing. But it is important to say things like, so for example, these were some of the responses received. Okay, so the first emoji here, not believing what they see, is horrible, horror, and the second one about to throw up, and the third one definitely vomiting because it's so horrible. So emoji is it's an enactment of the phatic function of discourse, as Jacobson has said. And Danesi says emoji usually seems to constitute a visually based version of small talk. Okay, so here, rather than post something written, they're using emoji to express and show some form of engaging with the post. And the other thing is that the emotive function, that the use of discourse structures to portray one's state of mind. So in face-to-face communication, we use interjections, we use intonation, we use other prosodic strategies, and these are used together with keywords and phrases. All of these will convey our feelings, and in digital messages, these are replaced by emoji, or can be replaced by emoji forms. And this is something that Danesi has studied recently. And other examples are things like the so LOL and OMFG. So again, similar to the emoji, but a written version of them. Okay, and the blur here. So that's that in itself is it's quite a it's some form of it's onomatopoeic actually. You're hearing the vomiting in this case perhaps. So it involves some form of onomatopoeia, I think. And there's also things like most disgusting but compelling threads. So they're disgusted, but also they're so finding it so compelling. And in fact, they sometimes can't stop scrolling is another comment that somebody wrote, and could so put these in a video, so that in a way provoking somebody to do it, and then in fact asking, could somebody do this, and with music in the background. Okay, so provocative language. And there was also a situation where somebody decided to write and say that they couldn't participate in this particular competition because they don't have a blister or a problem with the foot, but that they have a scar on genitals from an ultra race. So then this immediately prompted this picture, or it didn't happen. And so this is where my title was picked from, by the way. So picture, or it didn't happen. So provoking this, and saying that they would not believe this person unless there was a photo involved. And Simon quickly steps in, Simon the OP steps in to say no photos of genitalia of any kind. Kids can see this post. Okay, so not that they were necessarily going to post a photo, but that the carnivalesque in it as well, and then description of the pain that they are going through is also very carnivalesque as well. Okay, and other examples, other example responses were brilliant. Okay, so and then tagging the partner. In fact, the partner is not a runner in this case, but that tagging the partner so that the partner can have some fun, experience the carnival, if you like, as well, by looking at this. Oh, and I forgot to mention there were 11 shares of this particular thread. So it was shared into, and when I checked where they were shared to, it said private. So you can see how something public, this is from the public domain, as I said, the Facebook group is public, a public group, everybody can see it, but it was shared to privately in 11 contexts. Now, these are some of these examples. So this here, um, that's almost enough to put me off my third iced bun of the day, almost. Now, it's interesting to see the double use of almost here. Maybe just to maybe in this case the person reiterating the fact that it they can actually cope with this. They can still, they can still eat the iced bun. But the other interesting thing is that there's an iced bun involved in this equation. So eating is very much part of the carnivalesque, and it is a very much so that the having a it's from the eating and the devouring and the gobbling up. Also, it's very much carnivalesque in the sense of Rabelais, who actually where all this comes from. So Bakhtin used Rabelais as the French novelist Rabelais and his work Gargantua and Pantagruel, based on two giants, to actually develop this idea of the carnival. And so in this, I don't have time to go into the detail of that, but this is very much Rabelaisian, if you like, the third bun, eating that third bun. And this here with the that's a good squirter. The choice here of the word involves again some form of, again maybe in an onomatopoeia, but it's also quite graphic. I mean, you don't have a photograph, but not in this here. You don't have a photograph, but without seeing a photograph, you can sort of go ooh, and it sort of evokes that the grotesque. And there were other comments like they look gooey, okay, and so there's a, let me just, sorry, I forgot to mention that. So they look gooey again. Gooey again emphasizes some form of depiction of that image, but also in a way it's linguistic clownery, another term that Bakhtin used. So linguistic clownery is used in these kinds of posts in the threads. And there was another one with the adjective moist, but written mooist. So some again using linguistic clownery there. So there were many photographs and many images of the condition of the feet, if you like, and the answers to the questions that the OP said. And then somebody said, I'm really curious, what do you people feel when these blisters form? Are you so numb you don't notice it? For me, as soon as I feel the slightest itch, I stop, drain the blister, and put tape round. Now, this in itself is humorous in the sense that, okay, they might be giving a serious comment here, but the fact that you stop and you drain the blister, and you talk about this in this particular thread, shows also that it's part of the carnivalesque. And somebody says they're put off by this fact that seeing all these pictures. And Simon says, give it a go. Blisters and toenail fall-offs are part of the badge of honor. This badge of honor comes up a lot, especially with losing toenails. If you don't lose a toenail, you don't have that badge of honor of having run an ultra race. And somebody could post, for example, not in this thread, but another thread, somebody could say, I've just lost a toenail after running Park Run. Park Run is a 5K timed event in internationally, and so I've just done that. And so does it mean I don't have to do an ultra? Do I get a badge of honor? Kind of thing. So it's badge of honor is used as kudos. And somebody says that they have their first ultra coming up, and Simon's response is take pictures of the pain. Okay, so he actually says do whatever you like, but make sure you take pictures of the pain. And so the fact that you can actually make pain a semiotic an image, and you know, that analyze that semiotically is interesting here. And I mentioned earlier with the moist, this one linguistic clownery with moist, also Jesus, so used a lot. It wasn't in this particular thread, but another thing that often happens in threads like these is that somebody could say, were you wearing a Sunto when you lost it? Now, Sunto is a type of watch, very well known in the world of running, especially running long distances, because it has good battery life. So were you wearing a Sunto is actually a reference to the debate and the war actually between two watches, Garmin and Sunto. So where maybe you lost that toenail because you were wearing a Sunto. If you had worn Garmin, you wouldn't have lost your toenail. So it's an in-group joke. So not somebody who's not familiar with ultra running or running long distances or this particular group will not necessarily know what it refers to. So after 1 hour 52 minutes, the admin, one of the admins wrote and said, 1 hour 52 minutes and counting. And Simon says, be glad when this is over. I'm laughing. Admin R, I'm trying not to, but obviously admin R had been laughing as well, but trying not to laugh. Okay, so the interesting thing is that those 298 comments, of those, about 290 of them had been already posted by the time admin writes. So everybody was so interested in writing something that they wanted to contribute and offer their own pictures and comments. And there were a lot of, so there were about 52 pictures, as I said, but there were many more comments on commenting one another's pictures and state of feet. So when admin R says, have you got a winner yet? And Simon says, I'll announce it on Wednesday, referring to the following Wednesday. Okay, so, and then at the time, admin R's response, oh dear God, no. But the fact that it's actually qualified with two laugh out loud emojis, crying out loud, you know, just it shows that they also had experienced that carnival spirit. So at the very end, what happens is that so at the end of the carnival, if you like, as the carnival is coming to an end, the OP post says, firstly, many thanks to the forum hosts. Sterling job, people. So people here, all members who have contributed to it. And then there's an announcement of the winner. And then this post stuck out for various reasons. Okay, I won't go into all the details of what was posted. There's a long post, but I just wanted to show you these bits. Okay. I'm sorry, I need to read that one. Sorry, because there's an important one which I should have put there, but I haven't. Just a minute. Let me just find that here. Yes. So it's yeah. So basically, the winner is announced. Okay, so it's like, in a way, the winner is like the crowning of the queen, because the person was female in this case. So, or crowning of the king or queen, as happens in as can happen in a carnival. And so that's carnivalesque in itself as well. So the winner is crowned here, but with the announcement, okay, and then is told so that, yeah, so it wins this because it was posted on Wednesday. Okay, the comment of showing it to the kids deserve a medal. My wife would have divorced me if I showed her. Never mind the kids. And also the big toe. It was certainly an alien trying to escape from your foot. So the description here, the figurative language that's used here, shows the grotesque or evokes the grotesque imagery. And then there is some form of linguistic clownery in the way he says, we must note some other worthy runner-up. being, and then there is reference to this person, this runner would have won, but no funny comment. Okay, so they didn't want, but they were the hobble up, they were the runner up. Okay, and then Simon says it's just a forum where we can discuss the nice and the not so nice aspects of ultra running. My wife and kids just won't look at these, and they switch off 1 minute after 1 minute of me talking about running. And it's a group, great. It's a group that's great therapy for us all. So keep them coming, keep those posts coming, however disgusting, funny, or self-attention seeking. It's all part of our in-group way of dealing with what we do. Okay, so it's the reference to the group here. So summary, I just very briefly, I could say that. So this is summary of not the whole of the findings from my research. Obviously, it's part of just this aspect where I looked at the carnivalesque, and so what I can say is that through a carnival, the individual feels a part of the collectivity, and that we see that there's the life of the grotesque body here, and there are lots of examples within the Facebook group. And this particular thread that I shared with you has elements of that, and I hope that examples have shown that there is very much this happening, and really very much that there's a relational nature of festivity, and as everyone is part of that carnival and carnivalesque, that they are showing that they align with one another. So that's where education comes in, where they're bonding around the grotesque, and celebration of losing a toenail is a badge, and treating as a badge of honor, and it's an invitation it's in itself to a carnival online. And there is comedic take on what is sometimes potentially a serious matter, and the fact that that somebody could actually have not been able to run for many months after what the state of the foot was like, actually is a serious matter, but it becomes a carnivalesque in the process. And it's a one way that members can experience temporary relief, and there is theatricality involved, and very much performance studies comes into it. And in fact, Schechner has looked at performance, examples of performance, and what how different what types of different performance there can be, and to have fun, to have entertainment is one of them. To have entertainment, to heal is another one. To be able to cope with something is another one. So all of these are part of the performance and the performativity involved. Okay, I think I will leave it at that. It's 1 o'clock, and I sort of went over that time, but I think we started a bit late, so hopefully.
Yeah, thanks, Nur. Erica's had to go, so I'm taking over, but don't worry about the time. We did start late, and that was, I remember you talked about this a few years ago at a similar event on campus, and it was fascinating then, and it's just as fascinating now. It's wonderful talk, really is. I mean,
Thank you.
It's got everything. I think there's so much there, and brilliant data, and really interesting how this particular discourse community works. I think it's fascinating. Yeah. Well, we have got probably 4 or 5 minutes technically. So, have we got any questions? Just come in if you've got a question.
Yeah,
Small group. Chloe.
Yeah, I have a question, if that's okay. Thanks. No, that was so interesting, and I'm really I'm looking forward to seeing where this goes, and I'm also really glad that I postponed my lunch until after this talk. I think that was sensible. I was laughing actually throughout your analysis, because so I also go running, certainly not ultra marathons. I do short 5-10K runs. and I've started going again now that the gyms are open after lockdown, and I've had bad blisters this week, which I think is a shows how bad my fitness is. But anyways, I was just laughing at these examples. It seems very, very relevant to me at the moment. I was wondering about so I'm also on Facebook and on various other kind of social media sites, Instagram as well. And I was interested in whether you thought there was, and I know obviously you're focusing your data set on Facebook and the kind of Facebook group here. I wondered whether you thought that the kind of carnivalesque aspects are more accentuated on Facebook as compared to other social media platforms. And the reason I ask this is because I think I tend to use, I have Facebook, I don't really use it very much. I do use Instagram more frequently. And what I think is quite interesting on there is that when people talk about running and post about running, it's very performative. So often you get people posting their Strava routes or what they've done that day, and it's just a bit more kind of aesthetically curated maybe than Facebook.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
I wondered whether you'd either kind of notice differences in how the carnivalesque is represented across
there are quite a lot of differences. However, so my research involves also looking at the Insta community. So on Instagram, there are a lot of the type of things that you've just said. With people will go for a run and then post something with the Strava data, for example, saying that they've just come back from an 8K run, and they might actually also do a selfie of them. It's like looking very sweaty and so on. So that's kind of a left in itself as well, the sweatiness. And it's. On Facebook, on this particular Facebook group, what doesn't happen is people don't post about their runs, and in fact, it's a very humble community. There's this modesty. I mean, Leach's modesty maxim really comes into it. People are humbled by the fact that that they don't go out saying I've done 100 ultras, and there are people who have done it. That from different contexts, but they don't go out and say it. Whereas on Instagram, people will brag over this. So that's the difference that is coming out. But in terms of carnivalesque, there is a different type of carnivalesque on the Insta community, and that I haven't studied the carnivalesque because the chapters related with Instagram don't look at the carnivalesque. However, I could say that there are elements of the carnivalesque, but less so because it's because you don't know who's going to see your post because there could be so many followers that you don't know at all. It's not okay. I think the answer, I suppose, I'm not really answering very well. It's not really, the Insta community is not necessarily a community of practice.
Yeah, sure. So that's the difference there.
Yeah, it's different. There are it is not. So it's whereas a community of practice, such as the one that I have been studying, they in a way trust one another, because there's this boundary, if you like. Although there are, at the study of my research, at the time when I did the research, it was 25,000 people. There's many more now. They still, although there will be many lurkers, they still know that they are part of that bounded group where there are social norms to be followed. Whereas with the Insta community, there are social norms that Instagram sets, not the social norms that the person has set or the group has set. So I don't know if that's answered your question. There are
it's just different communities, but absolutely.
There are different.
Thank you for that. Absolutely. Thank you.
I thank you. Yeah.
Good question from Aitan.
Yeah.
Hi, thank you very much for your fascinating talk, Nur, and I have great respect to runners, and but on the other side, I am interested in ethnographic research, and I'm growing more and more interest in digital ethnography, and as you know, ethnography generates lots of data, and digital ethnography even more so. So I'm interested in the data collection and data management that you've adopted for your research. This is my first question, and then the second question is about the data sampling. So how did you choose the threads that you collected among this humongous data set?
Yes, exactly.
Exactly. And then
yes.
how did you choose them? Did you look at the comments, the threads, or the likes, or the shares? And did you go for the theme? So if you could please elaborate on
I forgot. Thank you. I remember
you.
the second question. I remember the second question, but forgotten the first question.
Yeah,
so one is about data management. The first.
Yeah, the data collection. So how did you manage collecting it, and then how did you store the data sets, and then how did you choose to work with the ones that you've?
In fact, let me just show you the relevant. If I show you the relevant, let me just go to this one, because that's okay then. Oops. Okay, so this is the summary of what I did. Okay, so I chose a retrospective time frame so that the time frame was between the 1st of April and the 30th of April 2018. Okay, this is a 13-month period, and I then contacted the moderators of the site, and got the permission got written consent from them to have to use the site, and actually they were very willing, which was very interesting to see. And then before I contacted the other informants in the study, what I focused on participant. So I had been a member of this community from 2016. Okay, when I completed my first ultramarathon. One of my an ultra runner friend said, why don't you become an ultra runner? Sorry, when I completed my first marathon, then this friend said, why don't you become an ultra runner? And then said, okay, this is a group you might want to follow. So he put me on this group. Okay, and so I was doing participant observation, but not as a researcher. So I was involved. So I was checking. I was familiar with the kind of things that they were posting. So that helped me in terms of the kind of posts that are being shared. However, what is important here is that as I was using the search button, so for example, if you type in a particular keyword, you can then get all the posts. So this was very, very useful. The search function, the search button function, is very, very useful for digital ethnography. And so you can do it by date. So if you just say April 2017, all the ones that are from that time will come up on the screen. Okay, and but I appreciate enough data management was an issue, and this is why the first phase was only looking at a holistic view of coding of data with log data of these many posts. And then what I did was I decided I would focus on a 30-day period, okay? And that was much more manageable with 160 posts. So the categorization that I shared with you, which is this one and this one, okay, so all this is a result of the types of coding that I did during phases 1 and 2, but mainly phase 2. Okay, but of course you can't do axial coding until you have done the holistic coding and the in vivo coding and so on. So I don't know if that sort of answers your question, but the thing that was very, very useful for me was the search button. But for the 30-day period, I looked at every post. Okay, so that's important. And the categorization was based on that. And in terms of how I chose the threads and what, I chose the threads. So, for example, what I did was there are threads for each of these. So each of these categories are exemplified. And the carnivalesque was not in all, of course, not in all of those. So when I saw the carnivalesque, I had to, use that thread, and I asked Simon for his permission. And in fact, Simon's response was, after giving me permission, he said, interesting fact that almost everybody else glazes over once we runners start talking about running. I think the average conversation attention span of my family must be around 10 seconds. So if your study could extend this, that would be a result in its own right. This was exactly what he said to me in communication. So I hope I've somehow answered your question.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you, Ayten.
It's very in-depth. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nur. Any final questions? Any quick comments?
I have one more comment to to say, if I'm allowed to.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
I really like how you compared, or how you brought out the carnivalesque perspective of these communities of practice, because they are doing something, they are performing their identity, and yes, carnivalesque is doing it and also spectating it. It is I think the interplay between how they do it and then how they perform it online is I think it is very interesting, and yeah, it amazed me. Yes, thank you for
thank
sharing.
you very much. Thank you. Yeah, maybe final comment from me is that there were other examples of the carnivalesque, but I didn't have time to share them. So this was based on the condition of feet and the grotesque imagery. But there are also other examples, and one of them is based around a troll. So I also studied that, and there's also one instance where a novice a new member who joins and posts immediately after joining, posts something that the group consider inappropriate, and what happens, the carnivalesque that follows that is also very interesting, but I didn't have time to share all of that.
Yes, thank you. Yeah,
thank you.
Well, thanks so much again, Nur, for a wonderful talk, really fascinating research, and thanks for sharing your findings with us, and thanks to everyone who came. For non-Aston people here, we do have a final talk on the 12th of May. Emmanuel Labeur will be talking about including without excluding, a challenge for the French language, and you can find details of that on our website, and you can sign up for that via Eventbrite. So thanks again for coming, and thank you once again, Nur, for a really interesting,
thank you all
for sharing your research with us this afternoon.
Thank you, Marcella, and thank you all for coming, and for your nice comments as well. And I've just seen your comment, Jackie. Thank you very much. Thank you, Tammy. Thank you so much. Bye bye. Thank you.